Your kitchen looks clean. I'm telling you right now, it's not. I've walked into thousands of kitchens over the years. Restaurant kitchens, hospital kitchens, and regular home kitchens where somebody just finished wiping everything down before I got there. Counters shining, sink empty, stove wiped, and every single time I can find 3 spots that are dirtier than the inside of a garbage can. Every time. Here's the thing nobody tells you. The parts of your kitchen that look the dirtiest, the stovetop, the sink basin, the floor, those are usually fine. People scrub those because they can see them. What people don't scrub is what they can't see, or what they've just stopped noticing because it's been there so long it blends in. I want you to do something right now, before you read any further. Pull your refrigerator door open and look at the rubber seal around the edge, the gasket. Not the shelves, the rubber lip that touches the door when it closes. Now, smell your kitchen sponge. If you haven't tossed it in 2 weeks, don't smell it, just trust me. And last one, pull out your cutting board, the plastic one, and hold it up to a light at an angle so you can see the surface instead of looking straight down at it. I guarantee at least one of those 3 things just made you a little uncomfortable. That's the point of this video. I'm not going to waste your time telling you to wipe your counters. You already know how to do that. I'm going to show you the stuff that's actually making your kitchen dirty, why it happens even when you're cleaning correctly, and the exact method I've used on hundreds of jobs to fix it and keep it fixed. Not a one-time deep clean that falls apart in a week. A system. My grandfather ran cleaning crews for almost 40 years, and the one thing he drilled into me before anything else was this. Dirt you can see is not the problem. Dirt you can see, you'll clean. It's the dirt that's invisible, or that you've trained your eyes to ignore, that builds up and starts causing real problems. Smell, grease that won't come off anymore, bacteria that makes people sick. That's what we're dealing with today. By the end of this, you're going to look at your kitchen completely differently. And I mean that literally. You're going to start seeing spots you've been walking past for years. Here's what actually happens in a normal kitchen, day after day. You cook. Steam and grease particles float up off the pan. You can't see them, but they're there, and they land on every horizontal and near horizontal surface in the room. Cabinet tops, the little gap above the stove hood, the top of the fridge. That greasy film builds up in layers so thin you'd need a week of cooking before you'd even notice a difference in the surface. Then there's the stuff that's wet and dark, which is worse. Under the sink basin where water pools after you rinse dishes. Behind the faucet base where a ring of water sits and never fully evaporates. Inside the dish rack in the little grooves where water collects and just sits there for days. Most people don't catch any of this until one of 2 things happens. Either there's a smell they can't locate, or they finally move the toaster and find a ring of crumbs and grease that's practically fused to the counter. By that point, it's not a wipe-down job anymore. It's a scrub job, sometimes with tools. The reason nobody catches it earlier is simple. You clean the same 6 spots every time. Counters, stove, sink, table. Because those are the spots your brain has flagged as kitchen. Everything else falls into a blind spot. I've seen kitchens that looked spotless fail an actual inspection because of what was living behind the fridge or under the sink rim. The surface tells you nothing. Grease is the root of almost everything in a kitchen, and grease behaves in a very specific way that most people don't understand. When you cook with oil or fat, tiny particles of it become aerosolized. This is called aerosolized grease, and it happens even with a lid half on the pan. Those particles are sticky at a molecular level. They land on a surface and they bond to it. Not sit on top of it, bond to it. Now here's where people go wrong. Water alone doesn't break that bond. Grease is hydrophobic, meaning it repels water, which is why wiping a greasy surface with just a wet rag smears it around instead of lifting it off. You need something with surfactant properties, soap essentially, to break the grease down into small enough particles that water can carry it away. I've watched people wipe the same greasy cabinet top for 10 minutes with a damp rag and get nowhere because they're missing that one ingredient. The second cause is moisture cycling. Every time your sink area gets wet and then dries, it leaves behind mineral deposits from the water. That's the white, chalky buildup you see around faucets. But in the spots that don't fully dry, like under a dish rack or in a rubber seal, you get something different. Mold and bacteria growth, because those organisms need consistent moisture to establish themselves. A surface that dries completely every day stays cleaner than one that dries partially every day. That's not a guess, that's just how biology works. And the third piece, the one nobody thinks about, porous versus non-porous surfaces. A plastic cutting board looks smooth, but under a knife it develops thousands of tiny grooves. Bacteria gets trapped in those grooves where a wipe down physically cannot reach it. Stainless steel and glass don't have this problem nearly as bad, which is part of why professional kitchens lean on those materials. Common mistakes. Mistake 1. Using the same sponge for everything. People wipe the counter, then rinse a dish, then wipe the stove, all with one sponge for a week straight. A sponge is damp, warm, and full of food particles. It's the single best bacteria breeding ground in your entire kitchen. Using it everywhere just spreads that bacteria to every surface it touches. You're not cleaning, you're redistributing. Mistake 2. Spraying cleaner and wiping immediately. I see this constantly. Most cleaning products, especially degreasers, need contact time to actually break down what they're targeting. Spray it, wipe it off in 3 seconds, and you've basically just moved the grease around with a chemical assist. The label usually tells you to let it sit for a minute or two. Almost nobody does. Mistake 3. Going straight for bleach or the strongest chemical in the cabinet, thinking stronger means more effective. On grease, bleach does almost nothing. It's not a degreaser, it's a disinfectant and a whitening agent. Using it on a greasy stovetop just adds a harsh chemical smell without actually cutting through the buildup. And if you mix it with the wrong other cleaner, you can end up with fumes that are genuinely dangerous to breathe. Alright, here's the method. I'm breaking this into 3 stages: degrease, disinfect, dry, because that order matters more than people realize. Stage 1. Degrease. Start with the stove hood, cabinet tops, and any surface near where you cook. Use a cleaner with real degreasing power. Dish soap diluted in hot water works better than most people expect, or a dedicated degreaser if the buildup is old. Apply it, then walk away for 2 full minutes. Go do something else in the kitchen. That contact time is what actually breaks the grease bond I mentioned earlier. Skipping it is the single biggest reason people re-wipe the same spot 5 times and still see residue. While that's sitting, pull your fridge gasket and check it. Wipe the seal with a cloth dipped in warm soapy water, working it into the folds. That rubber isn't flat, it's got ridges, and grime hides in every one of them. Come back to your degreaser and wipe it off with a microfiber cloth, not paper towel. Paper towel just pushes grease into streaks. Microfiber actually lifts it. Stage 2. Disinfect. Now, and only now, bring in your disinfectant, a diluted bleach solution or a hydrogen peroxide-based spray. This is for the sink basin, the cutting board, the faucet handle, and your phone if you touch it while cooking, because you probably do. Spray, let it sit the full time listed on the bottle, usually somewhere between 1 and 10 minutes depending on the product, then wipe. For the cutting board specifically, here's a pro tip that isn't on any label. Sprinkle coarse salt across the surface, then scrub it in with half a lemon, cut side down. The salt acts as a mild abrasive that gets down into those knife grooves I mentioned earlier, and the citric acid in the lemon has mild antibacterial properties. I picked this up from an old chef I used to clean alongside. He swore by it for boards that had absorbed onion and garlic smell, and it works better than any spray for that specific problem. Stage 3. Dry. This is the step almost everyone skips, and it's the one that matters most for stopping mold and mildew before they start. After you clean the sink area, dry rack, and faucet base, take a dry towel and actually dry them. Don't let them air dry. Standing water is what invites bacteria to move in and set up shop overnight. 30 seconds with a towel now saves you a scrub job in 3 weeks. Maintenance rhythm. Swap your sponge or disinfect it every 3 to 4 days. Microwave it wet for 1 minute if you want to kill bacteria without buying a new one every week. Wipe cabinet tops and the stove hood once a week, even if they don't look dirty yet, because remember, you can't see the buildup until it's already thick. And once a month, pull the fridge out from the wall and check behind it. That's the spot people forget exists. Do this consistently and you stop dealing with the deep stuck-on grime entirely. You're staying ahead of it instead of fighting it after the fact. That's the real difference between a kitchen that always looks decent and one that needs a total overhaul every few months. That's the real system, not a one-time fix, but a rhythm you can actually keep up with. Degrease, disinfect, dry, and don't skip the spots you can't see. If you tried the fridge gasket test or the sponge smell test from earlier and it caught you off guard, you're not alone. I've done this walkthrough with people who've been cleaning their kitchen every single day for years and it still gets them. That's not on you. Nobody teaches you where to look. If this helped, subscribe. I'm putting out videos like this every week, covering the parts of cleaning that nobody bothers explaining properly. Drop a comment and tell me what's giving you the most trouble in your kitchen right now. Grease on the cabinets, smell you can't place, something in the sink that won't quit. Whatever it is, I read these and it might end up being the next video. And if you want to go deeper on the sink specifically, I've got a full video on getting rid of drain smell for good. That one pairs well with this, since the sink is usually the second biggest problem spot after the stove. Go check that one out next. I'll see you in the next one.